Kyle Larson raced to a historic Cup Series season last year, winning an impressive 10 times and capping it off with his first championship. The Hendrick Motorsports driver has shown glimpses of greatness this season, but has also shown on more than a few occasions that he's human. One telling statistic between the two seasons is last year he recorded 2 DNFs. This year he sits at 5, with 14 races remaining. Larson revealed early on this season that things would be different from 2021, when in just the second race at Fontana, he made a questionable move late that was effectively a block on HMS teammate Chase Elliott that sent the number 9 car into the outside wall and ruined his day. After the race, which Larson won, he addressed the situation and interestingly laid the blame at the feet of his spotter.
I had an average 3 and 4. Joey had a good 3 and 4 and got to my inside. And I'm looking out my A-post window, looking at his door, trying to side draft. And I went to peel away from him. And my spotter never told me he was outside until he was outside. I wasn't even looking at my mirror or anything. So I didn't even know he was there until it was too late. So I know people are going to think I'm lying, but I'm the only one in the cockpit that knows what I was looking at. So
fast forward a couple of months to Talladega. Larson was in contention late. Then, on the final lap, fans had flashbacks to California as Larson made a sudden abrupt move up the track to get around race leader Eric Jones. Once again, the number 5 miscalculated when he failed to see Kurt Busch on his outside, which resulted in him initiating contact and escorting the number 45 car for a hard hit into the wall. That was the same race where Denny Hamlin got sent to the principal's office after he tweeted some racially insensitive remarks about Larson's driving skills. While some found the content offensive, it was the context that was important. Other drivers were officially taking note of Larson's mistakes. Which brings us to this past week's race on the Indianapolis road course. On Larson's 30th birthday, the perfect ending at the Brickyard would have seen the number 5 car make a trip to victory lane and earn his second win of the season. Instead, that fairy tale turned into a nightmare, and it started early in stage 2 when, like so many drivers, Eric Almirola misjudged turn 1 and unintentionally used Larson to slow his momentum, crashing into the right front of the HMS car, severely damaging the right wheel and surrounding components. Unfortunately, it was a precursor of things to come. With just over 20 laps to go and down 2 laps, Larson was just trying to avoid getting another DNF. However, things went horribly wrong in the treacherous turn 1 when the driver inexplicably drove into the corner at a high rate of speed, hit the curb, and started getting in the air before violently slamming into an unsuspecting Ty Dillon at 120 miles an hour. Over the next several minutes, the NBC broadcast replayed the crash multiple times. Jeff Burton suggested what many fans were thinking, that the crash had to be the result of some sort of mechanical failure. They then aired the radio communication between Larson and crew chief Cliff Daniels immediately following the crash, where the driver said he had pedal.
So I heard him say, I have a pedal, which, looking back now, maybe he didn't have brakes, and now he does have brakes. That's the one thing that seems to make sense.
After Steve Letart's comments, they went back in time and reviewed the radio communication between the number 5 team moments before the accident.
I don't know what he said. This is just before the wreck. That your brake pants are on.
Yeah. I'm standing on the pedal really hard, though.
Yeah, standing on the pedal really hard. So
Letarte noted that it was an odd conversation for the HMS duo to be having about brakes during the middle of a long green flag cycle. Adding to the intrigue, Larson skipped the interview after he was released from the infield care center. Things took an even stranger turn a day later, when Fox's Bob Pockrass reported that he had spoken with HMS officials and they didn't see any signs of brake failure. When someone replied to his tweet asking about the throttle, the reporter reiterated that there was no mechanical failure of any sort. With fans and media speculating about the possible cause of the crash, Pockrass tweeted again on Tuesday, and it was a similar message from the team indicating it wasn't a failure with the car, but this time suggested it was driver error. Later in the day on Tuesday, HMS Vice President of Competition Chad Knaus made an appearance on NASCAR Race Hub. When the accident was brought up late in the show, it was quite obvious Knaus had no intention of going into details, but instead wanted to move on to another subject.
And we did see that big hit between Larson and Ty Dillon. Glad both those guys are okay. Yeah, they're fine. Kyle was able to hop up out of there, and obviously concerned about Ty, ran over there and checked on him. I mean, that's one thing about this race car is it can take a hit. That's for sure. Now your bell might be a little wrong afterwards, but it can take a pretty good hit. But man, you think that's something? What about the 17? Explain that to me.
A day later on the same show, Michael Waltrip addressed the crash and talked about the conversation he had with Larson, in which the driver accepted responsibility and told him that he got into the braking zone too hot.
Replay of a wreck like that, it looks like he just drove into Ty Dillon, but he got in the braking zone too hot, he said. And if you look, there's the 47 just to the outside. He said he was going to run straight over top of the 47 and didn't want to do that. He thought if he just let off the brakes, he could squeeze between the two of them. It didn't work. He said, I made a mistake. He's a champion. You're going to mess up. You're running high speeds, trying to get into the braking zone as hard as you can. He made a bit of a mistake, but...
Made a mistake? Hendrick's comments, combined with Knaus avoiding the subject and Waltrip revealing that Larson admitted it was his fault, it all sounds like a well-coordinated message. But is it the truth? Fans have taken to social media and posited a variety of theories since the accident, including HMS was using some sort of illegal anti-lock brake system that failed. For those fans who suggest that Larson is above cheating, he proved that theory wrong a day after his crash at Indy, when he raced the USAC midget event at IRP on Monday night and won, only to be disqualified in post-race technical inspection for a rear wheel width that was too wide. Outside of cheating, one plausible theory with regards to the car is the brake fluid overheated and boiled, which would temporarily cause the brakes to stop working and then return, which could have been what happened when Larson acknowledged that he had pedal. But if that was the case, then why wouldn't HMS just say there was some sort of brake failure? What's interesting is the telemetry data shown during the broadcast reveals at the beginning of the clip that Larson wasn't applying the brake at all, or maybe was trying to apply it, but it wasn't working. In either case, there was no brake working when he was in the braking zone and very close to the corner. With HMS denying it was a mechanical problem and effectively throwing Larson under the bus and blaming him for the crash, you have to ask what might have happened to him for this to occur. Is it possible that he had some sort of medical emergency like a blackout and briefly lost consciousness? Did he somehow lose track of where he was on the track? Did he mistake the clutch for the brake for a split second? Those theories are just that, theories. But it's what media and fans are left to do when the organization's message doesn't make sense. If HMS wants to put all the speculation to rest, it could provide a specific statement of why Larson missed the turn instead of suggesting that he got in too deep and got out of shape. Explain why he got in too deep. Until that happens, everyone will be left to speculate and assume that the organization is hiding something.